Did you beat it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I knew you did. I knew you did. I should have saved that for the cast. I should have saved it for the cast.
Love it. I'm so glad.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with John Hines.
Hey there.
And DJ Mandolini.
Hey, guys.
How's it going, Deej? It's been a little while.
It's been a minute. Yeah, it's going
Yes,
well.
indeed.
Good to
Have
see
you,
your pretty faces again.
Same here. We got the video rolling. I think a couple weeks ago we had to record the ep with no video just because of the internet issues we've all been having. But we're all back. DJ's back from a little vacation, and we're back as always to talk about some video games. So why don't we just dig right into it, and we'll dig into a little new or semi-new PICO-8 game that we've all checked out that just came out called Starjump, and this is from Yooka-Laylee, I think is the name of the developer. It's the same developer that developed Marballs and Marballs 2, which I think I've at least given a quick shout out on the podcast before. We've definitely made a couple of videos for those games, but yeah, we just recently played through Starjump. DJ literally just played through it just now while we were getting everything set up. So why don't you get us kicked off, DJ? What did you think of Starjump? Yeah. And I guess just real quick, it's like a top-down platformer, which you don't really see too many games like this these days. Top-down platformer on the PICO-8 in like squiggle vision, which is really cool.
Yeah,
what did you think of this one, Deej?
I felt dumb right up front because I was not used to keyboard controls. It's been forever since I've played on my PC. I'm like, oh, there's actual arrow buttons. I don't have to WASD everything. But and those controls are a little rough on this because there's some decent amount of like precision you got to make with these jumps.
Like there can be sometimes, platforming in a top-down game, but like you don't see like a top-down precision platformer very often.
Yeah. So I definitely recommend plugging in a controller. Like I got to a point where I couldn't move forward because I was fucking up so much. So if you don't want to be like me,
I was definitely in a similar boat because I started playing the game on the mobile version in the in-browser game, and as difficult as like a keyboard controls could be for that game, like it is very difficult using the like PICO-8 precision platformer because like I was swiping the screen like left and right, so that was reloading and going back on the page as I was in the middle of a jump. Like I can absolutely say like this game needs a level of control that requires basically a controller.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and thankfully I went that route from the start and just played all the way through this one. And again, I just fired it up on the PICO-8 platform, but you can play it right in your browser, even with a controller. It's so awesome how you can just sync all that stuff up, go full screen. And there's even one cool thing about this game, too, is there's no soundtrack whatsoever. There's just like a little like ping sound every time your little star jumps. But there is like a link on the Itch.io page that goes to like a YouTube playlist or a YouTube like video that has like a soundtrack. It's more like a soundscape. It's like just kind of like ambient noise and like kind of wind and rain. I didn't actually put it on while I played the game, but I checked it out after and I was like, oh, that's a cool idea, especially to work around the PICO-8 limitations. But yeah, I found this game to just be really fun. It took only like 10 or 15 minutes to rip through, but I don't know. They threw in quite a few clever puzzles throughout the game. Like, I really like how the perspective like zooms in and out as you like kind of progress screen to screen. It's kind of always like one screen at a time. And again, you just don't see too many top-down precision platformers. And I really loved that squiggle vision or that wobble pixel art aesthetic. It kind of had a like extreme Baba Is You vibes,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of.
But, speaking of, I was going to say there's not really too much more to add on that game. I mean, it's just another really cool PICO-8 game. We were just talking about a bunch of PICO-8 games either last week or a couple weeks ago, John. So figured we'd give this one a quick shout out since it's a new one from one of our favorite devs or a cool dev that we really like. And, Yeah, so why don't we kick it over to DJ?
Give it to me. Yeah, so I've played a smattering of things lately. As
Nice.
you alluded to, I've taken a couple trips lately, and the only reason I'll ever use my Nintendo Switch moving forward
Come on.
is when I'm at the
That's
airport. It's just I'm a Sony boy. I just
Yeah, and you got the PS5. It's all shiny and new. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I mean, I'd even take the PS4 over that, but
Oh,
Stop.
I haven't turned on my PS4 in months.
I know you're out of your
But
mind.
yeah, to each their own. To each their own.
But anyways, yeah, and been trying to like polish off some of the games that I've come like so close to finishing, like completely. Like I've technically beaten Baba Is You, and I've technically beaten Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, but like I haven't 100%. I haven't solved all the puzzles in Baba Is You.
Oh, man.
And you know what? There's only like, so right now there are 2 levels that are available to me, and beating one will unlock access to new levels, but like these 2 levels I can't. And I've spent the one that I need to unlock other stuff, like I've spent hours on it. If anyone knows, it's the one called Crushers in the depths area. I'm just beyond frustrated, and I might actually look up the answer, which is
I can't blame. I mean, I don't think I looked anything up when I was playing Baba Is You, but I also did not get very far in Baba Is You either. I got stumped by like world 2 or 3.
Yeah, I definitely looked something up in like level like 3, world 3 or whatever. It is unbelievable to me that you've brute forced your way through this game, which is
dude, I'm
that
I'm
moment
over
of discovery
70
is
hours in.
great. But man,
Yeah. Yeah, especially like you're beyond like the game itself. Like you're in the bonus stuff or whatever,
Yeah.
the Easter eggy stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think I've given it a fair shake, and like I'm just gonna no matter what I do, I'm gonna be so upset after I watch the answer.
I know what you mean. Yeah, especially with puzzles, it's like you're always like, oh, how did I not see that?
Mm-hmm. And then with Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair,
Great game,
the 2D one. Yeah, it's just so the final level, the Impossible Lair, and there's 2 versions of it, and I'm rocking with the hard version, which I think was actually the original version that was just way too hard, but I might be misremembering.
I don't remember 100% for sure, but I know it's like essentially there's like no continues or whatever. You get none of those like extra hits or whatever.
Yeah, there's no checkpoints, and you can't use any of your battalion to like absorb hits. So you have to just beat the whole thing in one go. And I've done over 100 attempts because it keeps track.
Oh my God. That's cool. I like that.
And it keeps track of how far you got on your best attempt, and 41% is the farthest I've gotten.
Oh my God. In 100 tries?
To be fair, a lot of those were while I was using the Joy-Cons, and I definitely had drift issues. But
Gotcha.
Even when I've been using the Pro Controller, like, I mean, those are my best runs, but it's still like, it's tough. Maybe I suck. I don't know.
No, I'm really glad you brought this game up again, because I actually I played quite a bit of it when we talked about it on the podcast, but I haven't played it since, or at least not much since, and I've never even tried that final level in any capacity. Like I'm probably about 75-80% through the game, but I've never beaten it. So
yeah,
this is going to encourage me to go back.
I originally, when I was picking it back up, I had like 3 or 4 more like battalion members in like the overworld I needed to find, or from like secret like level exits, which I did end up looking up, and I don't feel that terrible. It was like I kind of knew what I need, or I had the right idea. I just wasn't sure if like I was technically able to do the thing that I wanted to do. Is like, I think there's a secret over there, but I can't see it. But Like it just makes sense, but like it would require some weirdness. So, and it's like I don't know if it's worth investing all that time in experimenting.
Right.
That's how I'm justifying it.
Yeah,
I do about the same. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. Like when I feel like, the amount of time I could spend like either figuring it out on my own is not worth the like peace of mind and just like getting a quick answer, yes or no answer. I don't even need to like figure out exactly how to do it. Just like tell me if there's something there, and then I can go through with it. Like that's I do that all the time.
Yeah, I always watch like the bare minimum of the clip, and as soon as I see like, oh, that's the way, like cancel. Like I don't want to see the execution as little as I can. I just want to know, okay, that's the way I'm supposed to go. Okay.
Yeah. I wonder if there's some like specific outlet for like give me just a hint, but don't give me the answer.
Yeah, I mean
that's interesting. Nice. Yeah. Or but like some way where you could like hide it like layer by layer. Like here's like the most vague hint. Here's like the next deeper hint.
They kind of did that with the Risk of Rain 2 update that added the artifacts. Like the wiki for Risk of Rain 2 would give you like layers of spoilers. Where
that's cool.
It would
that's awesome.
But like again, that was a fan-made thing, like where people were like, "All right, how much do you want us to decode the poem that was in the item, or do you want us to tell you what area you need to be looking for, or do you need to know the exact thing you're looking for?"
I need that help big time because that game is so vague. It's at least for me. I know you've figured it all out, John, but I'm just like,
not all of it on my own.
Stare at those challenges. Yeah.
For whatever it's worth, on the PS5, I think in one of their UX or UI, whichever videos, when they were showing off like one of the card view features, I think it does present hints to some challenges. So. That may become a more popular thing, and another reason to go with Sony.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I don't want those built-in Sony hints. John, haven't you been, not to sidetrack us, but just briefly, haven't you been playing some of the 3D Yooka-Laylee recently-ish?
I had, like, when I first got the PS4 from DJ, like, I had booted that up because I had started Dark Souls 2, and it was before I realized, that I was heading down the wrong area, before I could even got to the leveling up mechanic, and I wanted a game that just made me feel good, so I booted up Yooka-Laylee. And yeah, I enjoyed it, but like, it was also like a weird feeling of like nostalgia for something that was new, obviously, like at least to me, but like it definitely did feel like a collectathon game with like some quality of life improvements. But like it was weird just because like when I go back to those types of games, like I kind of have them memorized, so like I can overlook like some of the shortcomings of the genre because it's a comfort game. And like doing it again as like a new game, I was like, this is fun, but like not as fun as I want it to be. So like it was interesting because it was a brand new experience, and like I don't know, maybe if I go back to it and like play it a second time, maybe I will have that level of comfort and also the appreciation for all the ways that it isn't like an N64 game or a PS1 game that has those limitations. Like I don't know, I'm interested to like continue playing it and continue to see like how I feel like it over time.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because I think was it you and I, DJ, we played the demo together, or it was either the demo or just like the first chapter or something. And I found it to be like fun, but kind of felt like, I think you put it really well, John, just felt kind of like it's like lacking something. And again, maybe it's just the only thing it's lacking is that like nostalgia that I feel when I play the games that I like remember from being a kid.
Because I definitely don't think it's lacking in terms of like polish or content. Like I think it
looks gorgeous,
looks good, and it plays well. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean the one like critique I may bring is that like I think the levels are maybe a little too big, just like barely. But yeah, I'd say like after playing that game, like what I remember enjoying about it was the charm, and that was very reminiscent of Banjo-Kazooie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all like the voices and all that stuff. Yeah.
So I don't know if I played a different kind of collectathon, how would I feel? And I imagine I wouldn't like it because I feel like I've gone away from those over the years. But just like I don't know, the cuteness of Banjo and Yooka, like it keeps me around. So.
Oh yeah,
they do a nice job, and again, the impossible layer is really, really awesome.
Oh yeah, well that's a whole different type of game there.
Yeah, more of like a Donkey Kong Country or Tropical Freeze type deal.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But what else have you been dipping into, Deej?
Well, one thing I'll just briefly mention, but save until one of y'all, and that being John, probably has played it, is I did play through Deltarune.
Ooh! God, yeah, I need to do that.
Chapter 1 Deltarune.
And wasn't that your resolution game?
Yeah, I've achieved my goals. So
getting it in, DJ's
First
like,
one.
I'll pop in for an episode and just get my resolution game in.
I played it at the perfect time, and I'm very excited to see what John thinks. Kevin, I imagine that since you weren't too keen on Undertale, you won't be that keen on this game, but hey, if you want to try it.
Yeah, I'll give it a peep. That first chapter's free, right? It's essentially like a demo or a prologue sort of thing, and that's all that's out so far, right?
Yeah. So it was
how long
is a good chunk. That's a good question. I feel like played it like 5-ish hours, maybe a little
jeez.
Maybe a little more.
I figured like an hour or two max, but that's awesome.
Maybe I'm overestimating. Definitely more than 2 hours.
Yeah, well, either way, even if you're overestimating, it's probably only because you got that sucked into it, you know?
Yeah.
Because, I played like the first 30 minutes or so of that. And it had been, before we talked about even Undertale on the podcast, like it was basically just like the first time going back to that, I don't know, universe or like feel of that type of game. And like since I played Undertale when it first came out, and like the emotions I had from just playing the demo, like the first couple scenes were like, oh yeah, this is the type of RPG that I really like. This is the type of story, like I really like how Toby Fox like tells stories and like gets across some of those, like, I don't know. I'll save it for when I've played a little bit more.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely sync up on that. At least check it out.
Mm-hmm.
What else? I'm just hogging the cast.
No, come on. That's what I've been doing lately too, Deej. So right. Don't feel bad.
I'm holding court. I am trying to make my way through the Bit.Trip games.
Yes.
Yes.
I've got like the collection or whatever. It's got like all 6 of them.
And what platform?
Yeah.
I've got it on PlayStation.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So I'd beaten Runner, which I know is your least favorite, John.
Correct.
And mine too, probably, or at least one of mine.
And was that because like the way that the audio didn't really sync up well with the actions you were doing?
100%.
For me, yes. And I think we've mentioned it even on the podcast before, but just to briefly, it's like the way they have it lined up in that game is like, it's not when you're pressing the buttons that like is lined up with the rhythm of the song. It's like when you're clearing the obstacles. So like you have to press jump, like you don't get to get in the groove of the songs. At least I was not able to.
Same. That is 100% the same reason why I really couldn't connect with it, because like the whole series, like it leans very heavily on like precision rhythm like games, like, and I guess maybe just like in rhythm games in general. And I think we may have even touched on it when we talked about Terror Rhythm many episodes ago.
Yeah,
because that kind of had the same thing where like the enemies would like appear like with the beat, but you didn't have to necessarily attack them with like in the beat, and like that threw me so hard, and I could never really get in a groove with that. And like that's just the same thing that I had with Runner.
Fair. Well, I'm also
same here,
trying to go through Runner 3, which is quite difficult. So I've barely put a dent in it, but yeah.
How far are you in the original?
Like the main line? Are you going through them in order and whatnot?
Not in order. But
there's a story.
I know. I remember you telling me the story a long time ago before I even played these games. So I'm just going to remember that.
It was early days of, it wasn't the early days of the internet. I don't know what the hell I was talking there, but like, it was like kind of early indie where like there was so much like cryptic information put out when these games first came out. Like Bit.Trip Beat came out, and then people realized that some of the like things in like it had Morse code in some of the like beats that were in there, and like you could decode that. And then
I'm not doing that.
Come on.
Well, anyway, but I mean, these were WiiWare games originally. That's what they originally came out as. At least the first like series of, I think, 5 games. I want to say maybe 6. 6. Because the bundle. Duh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's so what's been a little troubling is just the fact that I am compelled to go for the hard difficulty. And John, if I hadn't like talked to you about it, I wouldn't have realized that that's a thing that's just unique to the bundle, is having multiple difficulty levels, which I guess just impact how easy it is for you to move between the different modes of like a combo level or whatever.
Which kind of serve as like hit points at least in the earlier games. Like if you're, you will lose when you get to a nether level of combo, which is, and then once you take any damage or miss any beats in that combo, that's when you lose. But you can build those up by getting higher and higher combos, which move you into higher and higher levels, which will add additional instruments to the games or change like the like level like effects that are put on the thing. It's great.
Like the visuals start going crazy when your combos rack up and stuff.
And the audio changes.
Very satisfying. Great.
Yeah. And also gets like super nerve wracking as things start to drop out, like as you get closer and closer to losing.
Because Nether takes out all colors, just turns it to black and white, and then makes it just go down to like
a metronome, basically.
Yeah, so I've been doing it on hard, and I was able to beat Fate on hard, which that's kind of like a shmup, but it's kind of like an on rails shmup, I guess.
That is such a weird one to. I can't believe
I'm trying to even think of which one that is. Yeah, I feel like I know most of them, but that one doesn't. It's the one I don't picture off the top of my head.
Fate is an on rails shmup, but the rails are like not. Oh man, it's so weird hard to describe. Because the rails.
Like, is it like Res style on rails or like?
No.
Or like side scroll. Oh, it is like a side scroller. I know what you're talking about. But
like I'm just like sometimes the rail is a sine wave or like a curly Q. Like
it's like a designated path that you can like
move
control
forward or back.
Exactly. Yeah. I forgot about that game. That game is cool.
And you can shoot in any direction, so you're not like fixated to just shooting straight. You're just stuck on that path. But did that. Now I'm moving back to beat. So going to the beginning. I beat the first.
Is there
level
gyroscope on the PlayStation controller?
Yes.
How are you playing it with? I'm guessing you're not playing with gyroscope controls then.
What do you mean?
Like that's how it was originally on the Wii. Like you had to play gyro controls.
Like you just tilted the controller forward or back. Oh, so you are playing it like that?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So,
all right. Yeah.
I didn't know there was another way.
I think that there was a release that like could let you use, at least on iOS, or maybe iOS was also gyroscope. I don't know.
On 3DS, you definitely can use the stylus.
That was it.
I got the bundle on 3DS, and I was just like, this kind of sucks.
Yeah, because it takes out all the difficulty.
I doubt my ability to be very precise with this, but I will stick with the gyro. It's
really fun.
Yeah, I can justify going down to normal, given that that is the version that they originally were released on. So That's how I'm gonna cheat my way to victory.
Yeah, but cool that they added that extra difficulty for the bundle for give you a little extra incentive to pick it up if you haven't, or if you already had the games on Wii or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Last game, you guys. I'm almost done.
All right. Let's go.
So I've been playing Days Gone, which actually just came out as one of the PS Plus games, free games of this month, but it was also included as part of the PS Plus collection you get as a PlayStation 5 member, like that collection of 20 games. So it's a nice little open world zombie game, which I am just curious. I was mainly curious to play because, as you know, I don't hold The Last of Us in the highest regard.
Yeah, we've talked about that a few times for sure, Deej, you and I.
Yeah, and so I guess I was mainly interested in having something in that similar theme to compare it against. But although, I mean, they are different. Last of Us is linear. This is an open world game. But
yeah,
and I can't give my final verdict until I play Last of Us Part 2. But I will say I was just way more into the story and the world of Days Gone than The Last of Us.
That's definitely interesting because I feel like at least review wise, it's the opposite way around. If you look at the general consensus, I feel like this game got pretty mediocre-ish reviews, but I thought it looked pretty cool.
Well, I can understand it getting mixed reviews. I would say gameplay wise, Last of Us is definitely more solid than this.
Yeah,
I was actually kind of sour on Days Gone right away because you immediately pick your difficulty level, and I don't like doing that ever. Or if I do have to do that, I would like it to give some indication of what's the difference between difficulties. And there was normal, hard 2, survival 2, and I was I had no way of knowing what the difference between any of those was. And
it's you got to have a little description, especially if those are your choices.
I mean, I even today was trying to look online. It was kind of hard getting answers searching the internet. So that was frustrating. There's some gameplay stuff. You have this inventory wheel, and it doesn't function that well when you're trying to get to certain items. It's a little janky. But I did end up getting more into the gameplay. At the beginning of the game, I did hard 2, and I was getting whooped kind of early on. I had to approach everything very stealthily, as you're, probably supposed to be doing. And as you go through the game, you work with all these different survivors, and the more you help them, you get access to bigger and better guns and equipment and whatnot. So at the beginning, I was feeling very weak and a little frustrated. But by the end, it was just, there are, my favorite part of the game, gameplay wise, is taking on a horde, and a horde is a group of hundreds of zombies at a time.
Oh yeah.
When early on, if you're getting attacked by 3 at the same time, it can be a little concerning. But you have to craft all these traps, and it's you're constantly trying to manage your health, and there's just so much that goes on into a horde encounter. I just had a machine gun at the end, and it was just so satisfying.
I was gonna say, in that context, how much of it is active combat and how much of it is planned combat, or setting traps and passive stuff.
So by the end of the game, you get an indication of where the hordes are, because up until then, it was just like, oh, I randomly stumbled upon these and kind of hard to take them on. Like, I think I took on like 2 or 3 like that. But like there were like 20-ish, I want to say, in the game. So like by the time I could see on the map where they are, I was like, okay, I'm going to go here. I'm going to lay out traps this way. And and by that point, what you're able to use is just so vast. So it's kind of like, I think it's more intended to be more of an end game thing, but
gotcha.
Anyways, like, so I did like the immense like difficulty and like intensity that came with those battles, but back to like the story, I guess. Like, I don't know, I was not expecting to get invested at all in what's going on, and like I noticed myself going through some cutscenes and like actually getting tense and like I don't know, I felt more for these characters than I did for the ones in Last of Us. And
interesting.
And I think part of that too is like, maybe this is just my dumb perspective, but like it just, with Last of Us, it just felt like I could hear the writers telling me you're supposed to like this character, or it was like with Days Gone, I just felt like, oh, these are like, I just bought into the characters as who they were, I guess. Like it seemed somewhat more believable to me,
or a little more genuine or something.
Yeah. So, and I mean, again, I have to play Last of Us Part 2 to give the series a fair shake, and I'm sure that the hype that each game got, influenced my enjoyment. Like, I'm sure if Days Gone got all the praise and Last of Us didn't, I could feel differently. I'll admit that. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good time. Like I took a trip to Austin like last week, and during that time I was like, man, I want to keep playing Days Gone. So
nice.
I don't know, guys. I know Randall will probably not like my take on on zombie video games, but
that's all right. He just talked about Last of Us 2 pretty recently, and I think he's still digging through it. So
maybe I'll catch up.
Yeah, hopefully you two can sync up on that one in the future. Yeah. But I had a couple of games that I wanted to just rattle off real quick. A couple of indie roguelikes that I've been playing, both on Xbox Game Pass, actually, at the moment. But I have been playing the crap out of ScourgeBringer and West of Dead lately. And I guess I'll just start with ScourgeBringer because that's the one that I've been playing the most of. And this game is, I've mentioned it a couple of times. I think Randall and I did an episode where it was just the two of us, and we talked about a couple of Game Pass games, and we just kind of rattled some off. And I did mention this one as just kind of like a quick shout out, as like this is one of my favorites, but I've put a lot more time into it in the last week or two. And it's like a side-scrolling platformer, like mini Metroidvania, but not really. You just kind of like explore the map, and it has a really great like fast travel system, even better than Enter the Gungeon, where in the sense like as soon as you clear a room, you can just like go to the map, go to whatever room you want, and warp to any room that you've been to already. So you don't even have to be in like a room that has a teleporter in it or whatever. So it's just super convenient, and the combat is just so buttery smooth and quick. Like it's a 2D side-scrolling platformer, but it really honestly feels more like a top-down like combat game because you are so mobile. Like not only can you double jump, which your first jump is huge, like you can basically jump, and every room is like a single screen room that you're like, again, it almost plays like a shmup because you have like if DJ, you and I have talked about Bleed, I think, on the podcast before, Bleed and Bleed 2, or at least we've definitely played them together before.
Great music.
But it kind of plays similarly to that, where it's like you mostly are doing melee attacks. You have like a light, quick melee attack, you have a heavy melee attack, and then you also have like ranged weapon that you can get different ones and upgrade them in shops or buy weapons and stuff that like get a shotgun or get a laser or whatever. But for the most part, you just start out with this blaster and you keep charging that up over time. And kind of like Dead Cells, there's like a huge skill tree that you can keep like unlocking these orbs. And I really haven't made it too far in the game. I've only like the furthest I've gotten is into the second world. But it's just got such a great, like, the pixel art is so fantastic. The music is awesome. Like, it's kind of like the soundtrack will start out like a little more chill. And then as soon as you initiate combat in a room, it like starts ramping up and the guitars start coming in. It's kind of more like Starjump style music, I guess. Like a little less rockin' than Starjump, but kind of in that vein. Just like chugging guitars and stuff like that. And then with your heavy attack, you can not only like every enemy will kind of have like a little like Metal Gear Solid exclamation point pop up like to telegraph their attack. And if you hit them like with your heavy attack right on that in that time, including bosses and stuff, you can stun them and then just go to town. And again, with that double jump, not only do you have that double jump, you also have like a dash that you can do that recharges so quickly that you can do it like before you can do it multiple times before you hit the ground. And then not only can you wall jump, you actually can just like run up the walls. Like you can just run. So again, like it really just feels like a top-down game. Like you are so mobile. It's just crazy. And like there's so many different perks, so many different buffs. And like when you pause the game, even though there's like all these different styles, like it can be kind of overwhelming. Like you're like, what does this do? What does this do? But at the end of the day, it just kind of, oh, it's upgrading my health by 5%, or it's upgrading. And you can just on the pause screen, it shows like those 5 stats and like how much they've been upgraded with all your different pickups and stuff. But it's just so fun. So you got to be in the mood to play it. I feel bad because this game kind of I feel like it came out right around the same time as Hades. And I feel like it just kind of got overshadowed by that, like with that game just being so popular. And the gameplay is very similar, again, even though it is a side scroller, action platformer, essentially, it really doesn't feel like a platformer in any way. It feels, the combat, I would say, feels pretty similar to Hades, like that frantic mashing buttons, but in a good way. Like you really do have to strategize and pick, because you also, I forgot to mention too, with your heavy attack, you can actually like knock back projectiles, certain projectiles that are fired at you from enemies. So man, just such a cool game. And then the reason I wanted to mention West of Dead alongside that is because these two games have just been perfect to kind of bounce between. West of Dead is a kind of similar, it's like a twin stick top down, more like isometric style twin stick shooter, but way more strategic. Like it's a lot slower paced, like even a little bit stealthy at times, although it's definitely an action game. But basically every run, it's got this really great cell shaded art style, like 3D. It's really cinematic. Like every time you kind of enter a room that will have combat, the camera kind of zooms in. And then in each room, there'll be like a handful of enemies. And then there'll be like little lanterns, or they're almost like the kind of lamps you would see like in a basement, like where there's just like a little pole chain on them. But essentially they're like lanterns, but they're hanging from the ceiling. And then when you hit those, or when you light those in a room, it actually stuns all the surrounding enemies. And then there'll also be like they almost look like coffins or something, but they're just like little barriers, like almost like Gears of War style. You run up and kind of take cover behind barriers, and you can pop up and shoot your different weapons, and there's a ton of different weapons, and it's really cool. Like if you have a shotgun, it's more of like a quick trigger, like just press the trigger. Obviously, you want to get a little closer for the combat, this and that. But like if you have a rifle, or more of like a sniper type weapon, the longer you hold down the trigger, the more accurate your shot will be. So like you can see the cursor will be like a wide like kind of V spread, and then it'll like come together the longer you hold it down. And then when they're like totally together, it's like, okay, that's the most accurate shot you're gonna get. So it's really cool. Like it really just plays into that strategy. You have like a dive dodge roll kind of thing where you can do, when you're in open ground, you can just do it whatever. But if you're like on cover, again, kind of Gears of War style, you can kind of dash from cover to cover and do like a quick. It controls so smoothly. I love the cinematic, like zooming in again when you like initiate combat. It's got this really great, like almost like a Bastion style narrator, not during the game, but just like when you're in like the kind of hub between runs, like, when you're in kind of the purgatory or whatever it is. Because this game kind of has a similar wrapping as Hades, at least. I mean, you're not in Hades itself, but you're in the afterlife or something. But it's really cool, really strategic. I have not gotten very far in this game or ScourgeBringer, like only made it to the second zone in each game. I don't know how far they go beyond that, but I've been having such a blast hopping between these two games. And again, I mentioned I'm playing them on Xbox Game Pass, but they're available on other platforms. And I know, John, every time I bring up ScourgeBringer, I know you're always like, I got to check that game out. So I just can't recommend these games enough, whether they were on Game Pass or not. Like, I will, because games do come and go off Game Pass, from time to time. So both of these games are definitely games I probably will scoop up on Switch or on a different platform just to own them, because I really am having a great time with both of them.
Very nice.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. But why don't I kick it back over to you guys, and particularly back over to John, because I know you're still playing some Dark Souls over there, John.
I sure am.
Boy.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and we've been waiting for DJ to dig in a little deeper.
And we will dig, because I am at the point in Dark Souls 3, I am now at Lothric Castle proper.
Oh, shit.
So I'm nearing end game, I think. I'm saying I'm more than halfway through the game.
Yes.
Okay. And this is what, like, every time I play a Dark Souls game, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll beat this one. And then I just keep playing because I keep wanting to do everything. I can't.
Yeah.
I could beat the game. I'm at least on the file. Because there's stuff to do, and I don't want to replay them because it's always frustrating at the beginning, and I don't like the beginning of those games.
Oh, that's totally fair.
I maybe should mention, if you beat the game, you can keep playing. You can choose when to enter New Game Plus.
Oh.
You don't so you can go back for stuff you missed.
Okay.
I'm very positive about that.
So, like, I could start New Game Plus, like, middle of a run?
After you've beaten the game. So you could beat the game without doing all the side stuff, then do all the side stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I thought that was also part of the weird, like, charm of these games, that it like walls off content, like once you beat the final boss, that it's like, nope, now you start New Game Plus. Okay.
I don't know if that's something I should have let you discover, but
I don't know, because also, when am I going to beat a Dark Souls game? It hasn't happened yet.
Fucking right.
But yes, I'm at the point in 3, and I think I've cemented my opinion that, like, I think once you get to a point in all of the games, they're kind of about even in terms of my enjoyability of the game. Like, once I've unlocked, my end game setup in terms of like equipment and spells and pyromancies and stuff, like I pretty much am at a similar level in all 3 of them. But I think that the arc that it takes to get there is vastly different in all of them. Like, I actually think 3 has the best pacing in order to get to that.
That's right.
Because like there's just like the time that you get like pyromancy in like 1 and 2 is like you have to beat X amount of bosses, whereas 3 like starts right off the bat, and like you can choose your setup like right off and it's immediate. That payoff is really quick, and it feels good to just like build from like the get-go on that. But
you just remind me, like, it's hard for me to like compare the games against each other at times, because I will play them like maybe years apart from each other. So like I could sometimes be like, oh yeah, like that mechanic is in both of them when it's really specific to one. But also, it sounds like you always want to go pyromancer.
Yes.
And I always try to pick a different class whenever I play any of the games. So it's hard for me to compare like what's different about using this class in this one versus the other one. I never thought about that.
I also think that it's part of like a sunk cost fallacy where like I've learned how to play exactly one way in this series and the ability to start another game up at least with that like gameplay like already
some familiarity
in my like muscle memory is such a huge boost. Like I see like videos of people playing other builds and I'm like I can't even imagine playing that way. Like I like can't imagine ever playing with like a katana or a rapier. Like those play styles are just so vastly different from what I've spent hundreds of hours like I won't say perfecting, but at least getting to a manageable level. Like I can't imagine starting over from zero and like learning those.
Be a cleric.
No, that's a good point. How much do you feel like that carries over? Like in terms of like, I mean, because some games like, for example, like if you go back to the Uncharted games and like they feel different from game to game. Like how much does that carry over if you're playing the same like character type?
I mean, I'm always using basically the same exact weapon in every game, either a brigand axe or a bandit axe, whatever they name it. But it's it's the faster of the mid level before you get to like the specific like special axes, and it feels exactly the same in every one, and I love that. Like even the critical attack like feels exactly the same, and I think that's a strength. I think I am extrapolating that to all other weapons. I'm assuming they all function similar, but I will never know because I will never use another weapon in any of these games.
I would do the same thing as you for sure.
The axe is a good weapon. I can't blame you.
It's so like it suits. Like I've this is kind of just how I react because like that play style has become how I enter encounters where axes will stun lock enemies or interrupt attacks like for certain ones. So I do play a little bit more dangerously where I'm like, all right, I'm anticipating that this character will be able to will stop their attack if I attack them right when they like start their animation. Like I'm not building my character around parrying or whatnot. I'm basically leaning really heavy into this axe.
This isn't Sekiro.
Yeah.
I know. Like that's the thing. Like I do really want to play Bloodborne and Sekiro to like see how they handle, but at the same time I'm like I don't know how vastly different that's going to be.
You won't have that build.
I won't.
Nope. But you were talking about the different paths to get to the point you're at in the different games and what those differences are, and I cut you off. So
did you?
Yes.
I don't remember what I was saying in that other than I don't know. What I was saying, that took a long time for me to get back to that sentence.
Yeah, I did not remember that at all.
But I think one of the biggest differences and the thing that I kind of not hold against, but like don't enjoy as much in 3 is the level design, where I think that the levels in 3 are kind of built around a lot of one-way paths or like loops that don't accomplish anything from like, oh, you've unlocked a shortcut, which will make progressing through this area simpler. More of just like, oh, this is a path to a chest or a specific item or maybe a one-time enemy encounter. And I don't dislike that on its face. Like, I think it's still, I still really like the levels overall, and I think that they're really well designed, but I think I just enjoy the level design and layout more in 2, and it's just a personal preference. I don't think that there's anything, I don't even think they're that vastly different. I think that the level design in 2 just is more a streamlined version of 1, which was a lot of like you get to this point, and then when you get to the point after that, you unlock a shortcut, which makes it you bypass the first point.
Yeah.
And it was about like creating these shortcuts and loops that made traversing the area easier in 1. And then in 2, it's more of like you doing that on these individual levels, like that spoke outwards.
Yeah.
And there weren't any paths that you would go on in either 1 or 2 that didn't accomplish that or didn't move you forward. Whereas 3 has a lot of little nooks and crannies to explore.
I'd be curious as to which nooks and crannies you're referring to, and what you qualify as like having a point to it, because like would some cool gear be enough of a point? Or
well, that's the thing. If I'm only ever using 1 weapon and like 2
it's a waste of
equipment
time.
and I don't want to say that it's a waste of time, because it is offering like more content, and if like it's going specifically to your build, then it is like something that you're looking forward to. Like I knew from looking up, because I had to do my weird spreadsheets at the beginning of the game where I'm like, all right, what is the exact enchantment that I'm going to put on this axe, which is going to scale with like magic damage and all. Then I realized that 3 has simple enchantments which allow you to regenerate your magic or focus points, which basically then just turns my entire build into a like unlimited magic, like given enough time, and it's great. But because that only gets introduced, I don't know, like 10 or 12 areas in, like I knew from the beginning, I was like, all right, I'm not going to encounter a simple gem until I get to the ethereal dungeons. So I'm just like, I know exactly. Oh, yeah, that's what I do, baby. But
oh man,
but it did, like, it turned that what for other people, you know, who aren't going to use that item, like that's not something they're like making a path to or like specifically like setting up a goal for. But for me, it was, and maybe that's what all of these like little nooks and crannies are doing for other people.
I wonder if it would make sense to. I mean, the series is over, so there's no point in saying what they should. But like, if it would have been valuable to like, if you come across some loot, like you could choose between certain things based on what build you are. So there is always the chance it will be something valuable to you. But
I don't know.
That's neither.
I mean, I think like also the vendors do a good enough job of that. Like, I think that
trading stuff in or selling it or whatever.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And the fact that you could sell gear right off the bat and 3 is so good. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. 2 definitely does have some rougher edges that get ironed out in 3, but I'm still a 2 boy.
I figured the linearity of 3 would not bode well with you. And and it kind of makes sense that they were done that way, in the sense that like in 2 and 3 you can teleport right away, but in 1 it was like only once you reach mid game that you can do that. So you kind of needed those interconnecting paths. But man,
do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite out of the 3, DJ? I know you've said, I think Sekiro was your favorite of all the From Softwares, or at least you were leaning that way, but of just the Dark Souls games.
It's probably 3, maybe 1. But like I think 1 has enough gameplay issues where it's I think 3 is the most solid.
It definitely
gameplay.
looks the clunkiest. Yeah, 1 looks like very clunky, and I played it way back when, just a little bit, but it's very slow, clunky. It looks like they've like, I don't know, they've sped things up between 2 and 3 just a little bit.
I was going to say, bullshit. The remastered version of 1 still has plenty of just horse shit.
Yeah. We've gotten into that.
So, but
one thing I did want to bring up while you were on the podcast, that You've specifically like had a critique of 2 in that they just throw a bunch of dudes at you, and that's kind of what their solution of difficult, or their like take on difficulty was just throwing 100 guys at you, and like you can eventually
felt more
whittle
quantity over quality. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a thing that my critique of 3 is that there are very specific aggro levels, or like areas of like triggering aggro on enemies that will come into you. And I have 100% run through groups of enemies and just outrun them and like not engaged in entire areas of the map, because I was like, and once I got to the end of Ethereal, the Boreal City, like there's the final area of that is just like, I don't know, a dozen silver knights or like black knights, and I was like, I don't want to do this, and I just ran. I was like, I'm so far from a bonfire. I don't have very many healing items. I'm just going to see if I can ignore this entire section, and I could.
But couldn't you make the argument, it's nice that this game gives you options?
I don't know if that was intentional. I don't.
You can have it your way. You can have it your way.
Yeah.
I mean, when I play these games, I always approach it with a mindset of like, I want to kill every enemy at least once. Like,
I mean, that's
how I play every game. Even Mario, I got to jump on every freaking Goomba.
Yep.
It's so stupid. It's so dumb.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I've gone back to certain areas that I did just peace out and dash past everyone, but on like there's so many areas like when I'm in them for the first time, I'm like, don't want to do this. Bye. And like the game lets me. So I don't know. I it's more of a expectation versus like, because I'm glad that I can skip that area, because that would have been a fucking nightmare to deal with.
Well, in a way too, like in a traditional like turn-based RPG, it's not that different from like running away from combat encounters that you don't want to engage in, I guess.
I guess. Yeah.
Just spitballing, yeah.
But those are usually like random encounters. It's not like scripted. Like,
yeah, it's more like I'm not grinding right now. I don't want to engage. Yeah,
absolutely.
But I mean, maybe you'll need to start engaging if you want to be strong enough, baby.
Hey, buddy, if you think I'm not grinding like crazy, you are sorely mistaken.
Oh God, intentionally grinding.
Oh, buddy, of course.
God, I can't
That's how John
play
plays.
the games that way.
I am 100 levels higher in Dark Souls 2 than you were when you beat the game.
Oh, God.
That sounds about right.
I am more than double. Like, you beat the game, I think, at level 95. I'm at 200 something.
What the fuck?
Damn.
Like, buddy. We play these games very differently.
What's taking you? Let's just polish it off. Beat it.
But I love that. I love that you guys are clearly playing all these games very differently, and like, but still enjoying them in totally different ways. So,
John, so you've reached Lothric Castle, so you've beaten the big bosses that you need to get there.
Yes, all the Lords of Cinder.
So, I don't know. What was your experience when you took that lift ride up and then the font came up like Anne Orlando? Like, because when I played that, I got so pumped when I saw that, but
I had it spoiled.
Oh, so, no.
I knew it was coming.
You ass.
And I will say, like, having that expectation made it disappointing. Because like Anne Orlando, when you first get there in 1, like is this huge, like
bright, beautiful.
I mean, and not even, it's kind of dour because it's like, yes, there's sun there, but like it's a false sun, blah, blah, blah. You're reading the lore descriptions of the items and you know this.
I feel like this sounds familiar. Is it like a big like cathedral area kind of
kinda
looking ish
Yeah.
thing. Like there's tons of buildings, but you're kind of like I feel like I've seen this area.
Yeah.
But like Anne Orlando, like in 3, like it's supposed to be like it's based in like this ice level, or like right after this ice based level. So like already it has that, but like also it's only like the last 2 rooms of it, like 3 rooms of it. So like it is like there's no difference in scale, but it feels smaller and less like I kind of
Yeah, there's less.
I kind of like the fact that it feel like the whole thing is like, yeah, it's fallen, but also when I found my buddy the giant there dead, I was like, well then why do I even care about this?
Yeah. Yeah,
The only I'm glad that Andre made it out of 1, but also time doesn't mean anything in these games, so who knows what's happening? Like,
yeah, I definitely had an emotional experience there.
I did like the way that it, like, I was expecting there to be, because I knew that it was coming. I knew that it was the next area. I wasn't expecting it to be like that.
Yeah.
As it was until I got to the like elevator and I was like, oh. So like I liked that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There've been a couple moments in the game that have been callbacks to 1 that I actually don't think are as powerful, or like,
yeah,
I don't know. I think I kind of dislike the fact that they are callbacks to 1 as opposed to just like new things. Cause like, I don't know.
It's that's a big reason why I like 3 over 2 is because it makes it feel like it's a part of a franchise. It's not like 2 feels like a separate game.
I don't know. I think it's also like in the mythos of the game where I'm like, well, like time doesn't really flow, and like existence for all undead like kind of is meaningless as like unless you are the player character. Like, I don't know, like seeing these NPCs again in 3 after 1, I'm like, well, all right, they're fine. Like, then why do I have to fight anyone if I can just be a cool NPC shopkeeper?
Fair.
Whatever, why do I
John.
gotta be the chosen undead? Why can't I just hang out with Andre?
You should watch some game theory videos after you beat this, because they're out there, man. He points out your potential identity. But anyways,
yeah, I know we should stop talking about it.
I was gonna say
there's so much more like.
Well, we'll hopefully have DJ back on again soon, and we can keep digging in, because Randall's been teasing that he's going to dig deeper into these games and whatnot.
What a
We
tease.
definitely got to do that. But yeah, we're getting back into like the early days of the podcast with this one here. We got a nice long one for you guys this week, but
sorry.
I think we can. No, that's a good thing, man. It's just a tiny bit more
Dark Souls.
I know it's like a tiny bit more editing work for me, but other than that, it's not. It's like
concerned
nothing
about you.
Awesome. That's fair enough. But I think we can pretty much wrap things up there this week, guys. And as always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com for like our main podcast site or whatever. But linktree/pursuingpixels will lead you to all our other stuff: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, all that stuff. But yeah, we'll be back. We've got our anniversary episode coming up soon, and we'll be back next week to talk some more video games. But until then, take care.
Bye.
Boy.
How's it feeling now, Deej?
Oh, it's great. Did I just win? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm launching myself.
Nice. Got those DK barrels.
Yep. Oh, okay. I see.
This is basically a speedrun of how I play Dark Souls.
What's that?
I get it. The controls are ass. Okay. All right.
It's pretty good.
I see what you're doing there.